Hello, and welcome back to the Sapling. I am your host, Jalagat. In today's episode, we will talk about the global journey of coffee, once second only to crude oil in global trade, now considered one of the world's top commodities. Coffee comes from coffea, a genus of flowering plants in the family Rubiaceae. Coffee species are shrubs or small trees native to tropical and southern Africa as well as tropical Asia. Additionally, there are 3 species in the genus Coffea: Coffea arabica, Coffea robusta, and Coffea liberica. Coffea arabica accounts for the bulk of today's production at around 50%. Although Kenya is also known for our coffee, we did not drink coffee much at our home in Kenya. We drank mostly tea. However, we would frequently stir in a scoop of a very common coffee brand known as Kahawa No. 1 into our tea, not for the caffeine, but for flavor. It wasn't until I moved to America that I started sipping coffee. It took years to fall in love with it, and maybe the pace of my life and academics in America influenced that journey. Now, it's woven into my every morning. Additionally, as my coffee consumption is very refined, I went back and bought a bag of Kahawa No. 1, and I enjoyed the brew without tea. The coffee plant begins producing at age 3, living up to 40 years. The small trees flourish in tropical understory environments, where they produce fragrant jasmine-like flowers. They bear cherry-like fruits, but they are not true cherries. Under the optimal conditions, it takes 7 to 9 months for the fruits to mature. The cherry itself is very sweet and refreshing to eat when they are ripe. Inside the coffee cherries are 2 seeds, flattened on the inner side, wrapped in a silvery coat. The endosperm of a coffee cherry packs most of the punch. I enjoy eating the fleshy, ripe coffee cherries when I visit my brother's farm. Most of the coffee grows in open orchards, but shadow-grown coffee is thought to be superior. Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. The discovery of coffee is traced back to the legend Kaldi. Kaldi, the shepherd, noticed his goats were very hyper and energetic after eating coffee berries. Kaldi then decided to sample the berries himself, and soon he joined the goats in the frolicking. With this experience, he brought the coffee berries to the village, and that was the beginning of an amazing beverage. Roasting coffee could have emerged as a way to preserve the seeds, but roasted seeds are easier to grind. And the process of roasting coffee beans enhances the flavor of coffee by releasing the different aromatic phytochemicals tightly held in glands inside the coffee bean. Globally, coffee is part of a morning ritual that brings people together for conversations around a hot cup. In Ethiopia as well, coffee is critically important to the cultures and traditions of the people. This is best captured by the Ethiopian proverb that says, bunna dabo now, meaning coffee is our bread. Perhaps there are people listening to this podcast whose romance started with a cup of coffee at a local coffee shop, or someone spilled coffee on the other accidentally and sparked conversations. In Ethiopia, however, coffee is an important symbol of marriage traditions among the Dashanek people of southern Ethiopia. If a young man meets a young woman and he desires to marry, but is too shy to speak his heart, he sends his best friend to communicate his interest with a single coffee bean. In the dark night, the best friend must place the coffee bean into a carved wooden bowl called enono at the woman's family home without being seen by anyone. When the family discovers the mysterious token, they know it speaks of love and of intent. Secretly, the girl's family will begin searching for the source of the bean. Once the young man's family is found, the two families gather. Coffee is brewed, and questions are asked not of feelings, but of livestock to determine if the family can afford to pay the dowry for the bride. This could be goats, sheep, or cattle. The dowry must speak louder than the romance. As the coffee plant made its way out of Ethiopia, it became the black gold in the Arab region. Coffee found its way to Yemen before the 14th century. By 1500, it had spread across Egypt through Alexandria and off to Europe. Coffee arrived in Italy in the 1600s, and around 1616, coffee was so widespread that the religious leaders in Vienna were horrified by the spread of this ungodly drink from an unchristian world. Additionally, people no longer went to the religious houses for prayer to sober up after a night of drinking. Instead, they turned to coffee houses. Because of this anger, the religious leaders went to the Pope to urge Pope Clement VIII to ban coffee, to declare it an ungodly drink. Well, that didn't go as they had hoped. After a sip of coffee, the Pope baptized coffee. Therefore, Pope Clement VIII made coffee holy. That act unleashed coffee on the Christian world, and there was no stopping it. By 1650, coffee houses were hotbeds in English society. Coffee shops became places of fierce debate, political scheming, and social connections. In 1675, there were over 3,000 coffee houses in London. King Charles II called them seminaries of sedition and tried to shut them down, but public outrage forced him to reverse the course. Along with King Charles, there was a petition by the women whose husbands spent more time in the coffee shops. In the petition, the wives complained that coffee and coffee shops were an intellectual and effeminate indulgence that had rendered their husbands impotent and as unfruitful as those deserts where the unhappy berry is said to be brought. The claim in the petition was ironically undercut by the fact that the coffee-growing regions are notably fertile. The English women also noted that coffee was making men insufferably chatty, and here's a quote: "They sip muddy water and murmur insignificant notes till half a dozen of them outbabble an equal number of us at gossiping." Coffee has a scandalous past. The Arabs wanted to keep control of the coffee trade, and to protect their commodity, they boiled the coffee beans to prevent germination elsewhere in the world. But the Dutch broke the Arab trade monopoly by sneaking seeds from Mocha, a city in Yemen on the coast of the Red Sea, the traditional Arabian source of coffee. With these variable seeds, the Dutch started coffee plantations in the East Indies. In 1706, trees from the plantations in the East Indies were sent to Amsterdam Botanical Garden. During the journey, only one coffee tree survived. That tree's offspring led to the global spread of coffee, as we see today. As the coffee tree thrived in the Amsterdam Botanical Garden, seeds from this single tree were gifted to other botanical gardens in Europe, including the Jardin des Plantes in Paris. The French joined the coffee growing when Frenchman Gabriel de Glue took one of those descendants to Martinique. During the journey to Martinique, Gabriel had to share his own water rations with a plan to keep it alive. Once in Martinique, coffee spread through the West Indies like fire. Then came the seduction by Lieutenant Colonel Francisco de Mayo Paleta. He was sent to Martinique to get coffee seeds for Brazil. Legend says that when he got there, he seduced the first lady of Martinique. who gifted him a bouquet of beautiful and viable coffee berries to show him her love and dedication. Once he acquired the berries, he disappeared into the night and back to Brazil, and the seeds were successfully planted in Brazil. By 1729, Brazil was a coffee powerhouse, and to this day, Brazil leads by producing 37% of global coffee, followed by Vietnam with 17%. Today, coffee Arabica dominates global trade, and thanks to its smooth flavor and genetic traits of self-compatibility. From sacred rituals to political revolutions, coffee has brewed more than taste. It has shaped societies, stories, and even scandals. Whether it's your first cup, or 10th, or 100th, know that every sip is steeped in centuries of culture, tradition, and much more. Special thanks to our producer, Jonah, for his work behind the scenes. Thanks for listening, and be sure to tune in for the next episode.